I've always wanted The Witcher 3 to be what they tell me it is. A game where you study monsters, go deep in the woods to brew oils and potions, and strike with precision against fearsome opponents. I've wanted to meditate at a fire and prepare my tools for efficient bloodshed, to master my footwork against men and monsters, and to hunt those monsters just to make enough money to get by. And finally, I have an experience that matches what I've always felt was missing from this game. Imagine a single mod that overhauls almost every major system to create a hardcore witching RPG that lets you actually tackle things the way you want instead of being pigeonholed into specific things at a specific time. Imagine a total de-leveling of the player and of the world, meaning you can go wherever you want first without getting your medallion shoved up your ass, and meaning you won't outlevel contracts or side quests and feel the need to skip them to maintain a challenge. What if you could truly go where you want and do what you want? With W3EE Redux, that's exactly what you get, and that's just the beginning. Let's start with the most noticeable change, the camera. Instead of viewing everything from above and simply choosing a target to attack, you're in full control. Shift your camera left and Geralt points that way. Additionally, 2 distance modifier controls have been added, meaning you can attack close, medium distance, or far. This greatly expands the depth of positioning and means hitting your strikes isn't just about hitting a button, it's about hitting the right button and pointing the right way. This also means you can get very specific if you have the skill. You can use the forward lunge from an attack to dodge an enemy's attack, then turn back at them to make contact with your sword. The opposite applies as well. Heavy attacks are extremely rewarding, but it's easy to find yourself attempting them from too far away and missing your strikes. We'll return to combat, but let's talk about my playthrough a bit. Something that needs to be complimented is how the changes from the mod are implemented into the menus and tutorial. The combat tutorial lets you know how to perform the different counters and how to attack from different distances, as well as the sign tutorial having you quick cast. None of this menu bullshit, we hotkey in this house. With that done, we move on to the fight with the ghouls and Vesemir. The important thing to note here is how quickly I take damage and the fact that when the fight is over, I kneel down and take a large munch out of an apple-shaped piece of raw meat. This will be a very familiar visual as you play with the mod. Due to the changes to Alchemy we'll get to later, the use of Swallow in combat will be less effective but more available, meaning most healing will be done outside of combat. Meditation is no longer a menu, and now it takes place in the world. This can be combined with food as mentioned to speed up healing. It lets you change the time of day in real time, as well as being a cool role-playing element. It reminds me of tabletop long rests and old school RPG games like Daggerfall. If you have a razor, you can even take this opportunity to shave. But that and Alchemy require either finding a fire in the world, or Geralt will create his own if you have wood in your inventory. Settling out a fire you find in the world to brew potions has the same feeling as campfire saves in Stalker. After losing a bar fight and slaughtering some woodland creatures, my first boss fight was the Griffin. No, the Griffin. Most of my deaths were due to me needing to learn the Griffin's attack patterns. Already though, I was learning small lessons. I was able to stun him with the Ardsign's fire, and I realized a few attempts in how great the damage of heavy attacks was. I might have to learn this again later on account of my brain's stupid dumb fuckery, but regardless, it was tough and required adaptation on my part for success, which is where this mod's gameplay shines. After this, I decided I would do some exploring and take a few jobs to get some money for resources. A few bandit and bear encounters later, I found a shrine in the woods and was attacked by a night wraith. After getting absolutely demolished, I took a look in the bestiary and discovered that Yrden allows me to ground a ghost to reality, and allows me to do damage to it. Even with that, I wasn't able to manage the fight, but I was able to manage to yoink the treasure and run away. With a hollow victory, it was time to get to work. I needed to get some better gear, and I made my way to a town to get some. Before that though, I ran into a bandit camp, and seeing this gameplay now is shocking to me. I hadn't learned the combat very well here, and I spent a lot of stamina and damage windows trying to escape the bandits' attacks. I failed once, but I narrowly beat it on the second attempt. Soon after, I stumbled on a side quest about some people who turned into pigs. Found some diagrams and shiny gems in a cave. Then I made it to Novigrad. I fixed up an armor I found and bought some gauntlets and a new crossbow. Some upgrades are purely improvements, but the way the armor in the mod's been balanced, it's more about deciding what kind of gear fits your playstyle. And it's a lot less about making number go up. After finding a guy who sells ingredients, I took the opportunity to brew some potions, then applied some of the skill points I acquired. As opposed to the rigid recipes of the base game, W3EE has its potion ingredients contain colored essences, and any item with that essence can fill that slot. On the flip side, ingredients can be of improved tiers, but that requires more high tier ingredients. Additionally, items can have secondary qualities that, if matched, provide better toxicity drain, attack power, or health regeneration. I recommend reading the linked guides to get a better idea, but the TLDR is that simply getting the brew you want going is easier, with the potential for dedicated potion masters to harvest powerful materials and accomplish multiple things with their fluids.
That's it!
In line with that, you also consume potions and oils on use and will need to brew more if you want more. In my my gameplay, this led to a lot more highly specialized potion use against specific enemies, as well as creating more balanced consumables as backups in case I needed to adapt on the fly. You aren't farming character upgrades with your consumables, you're prepping for the next big encounter, and it really feels that way. Skills are another category that have undergone a complete transformation. Skill points in a specific category are gained by using that skill like in the Elder Scrolls games, creating a feedback loop of specialization based on your playstyle. The skills themselves are also different and factor in the new mechanics like adrenaline and poise. The difference here is that you aren't selecting specific ones, they're all active. So it's more about buffing what you like to use than boosting something specific entirely. Holy hell though, these general skills are really good. Now that I was more built for a fight, it was time to stop blaming my gear since I wouldn't be able to anymore. And this was when a chain of failures started. I started 3 or 4 contracts, and as I got to the end of them, I was absolutely filtered. This is the moment I would normally consider turning down the difficulty in a game. But here's the thing, I wasn't playing on hard like I do in most games. I was already playing on normal for the mod. This sent me a specific message. I was playing the game wrong. Before we get to how I turned it around, let me take a moment to tell you about the sponsor for this video, Five. Five is once again partnered with me to let you know about their quick hit THC gummies. For those of you that are 21 and over, Five provides fast-acting THC effects, and it's not just marketing. These things really do kick in 10 minutes or less. Each flavor has its own strain and has different effects, so you can shop around for the gummies that are right for you. You aren't starved for choice. They have Blue Dream, a sativa-dominated hybrid meant to be calming without putting you out. Pineapple Express, another sativa-focused hybrid meant to be more balanced. Sour Diesel, their watermelon flavor meant for a bit more of a dreamy, chill experience. And my preference, Lemon Haze, meant to keep you productive, or in my case, keep me sawing ghouls in half or some shit. Speaking of, if you're more of a potions type guy, they also have drinks, as well as chocolates, capsules, and even drops. For those of you over 21, you can head to the link in the description or pinned comment and get a free bag of Five's quick hits. All you need to do is pay shipping, and they send them straight to your door. No ATM fees, no dispensary employee giving you the Gen Z stare. Just a pleasant high in 10 minutes or less. Thank you for giving me the time to share them, and thanks to Five for sponsoring this video. I moved on to more contracts trying to find one I could complete in order to upgrade my weapons. I found myself stuck in a fight with a Jenny of the Woods. This also was too much for me to handle. Then I found a guide for the mod that will be linked in the description. This document is themed, useful, and very appreciated. What I realized reading this was that I was relying way too much on dodging and not nearly enough on blocking and countering. In addition to this, I realized that Jenny here was stealing my life to heal themselves. Fortunately, I had a bomb that prevented its magic, and I was able to use counters and more focused heavy attacks to take her down. This was the 4th or 5th boss I'd failed to take down in a row, and the feeling of using tools I'd prepared combined with skill I had developed in order to take it down was the perfect manifestation of this game's potential, and it was the first of many. I had a similar experience with some owl ghouls in a village. Trying my new defensive strategy, I was quickly killed through my blocks, and overwhelmed by multiple enemy attacks hitting me at the same time. In an attempt to get some free damage in before the fight started, I shot them with my crossbow and learned they were devastated by it. I should mention here that the mod also adds throwing knives that I way prefer to the crossbow, as well as making ammo limited. Additionally, I tried counterattacking instead of blocking and found out I could repel their attacks if I timed things right. This was the lesson I needed, and despite some glaring mistakes, I managed to take the spiny bastards out. This mod rewards you for learning, and it punishes you for trying the same thing over and over. I'm not going to cover this much since I didn't actually play with it, and it would be way too hard for me. But the mod features an optional soft permadeath mode called the Gaunter mode. The mod itself is super configurable, but this particular mode allows you to revive yourself in combat at the cost of a skill point. You can set a max amount of deaths, but I'm telling you, if I played with this on, I wouldn't have made it out of White Orchard. Regardless, after the Jenny of the Woods, I decided to complete a side quest and found myself tracking the trail of a werewolf. I waited until night, I fed myself and drank, I brewed some potions and prep, then I entered the cave and died over and over and over. I kept trying and trying until I locked in. I haven't talked about Poise yet. Like a toned-down version of the Sekiro balance bar, W3EE includes a Poise bar that drains as you take hits, until you get stunned as it empties. This applies to enemies too, and potions and specific actions can help you empty it faster. This is a big consideration on what kind of armor you use, and when an enemy's Poise breaks, you can instantly kill them if they're human, or get some good damage in if they're not. This was the fight that taught me balance. Poise, stamina, and adrenaline all need to be balanced to win the fight. My initial strategy was to try to dodge everything, and that didn't leave me any safe damage windows and led to me getting clipped a lot. Trying my new defensive strategy, I would run out of poise and get stunned. Here, I needed to stun using Igni, parry, riposte, and heavy attack for damage, and dodge out before my stamina went too low in order to reset my poise, and if needed, disengage entirely to heal. I had to use every individual mechanic at my disposal in order to take this beast down, and once I did, I knew I was becoming more than a novice player at this mod. That's not to say everything's perfect. This bird motherfucker taught me that the hitboxes in this game can suck. And removing the iframes from dodging means you basically need to be nowhere near this thing when it attacks or you're fucked. I basically just froze it with Ard, poked, and then ran away repeatedly to kill it. This was the first boss I felt totally annoyed with from start to finish. The others on this list had creative solutions, but this fight was a nightmare. Okay, one more. As I was gathering clips for this video, I stumbled upon another anecdote that shows how this mod balances skill in combat and RPG planning type stuff. I found myself in a fight with the Wild Hunt's dogs as part of the main quest, and while I was able to fight them, the amount of them and inability to meditate between fights meant I made way too many mistakes to get them all. My initial strategy was to try to heal through it. I made powerful healing potions that were very toxic and a bunch of concoctions to lower my toxicity. But even with that, it just wasn't enough. Coincidentally, while I was doing that, I put a point into my Axii sign that let it affect 2 enemies at once. Wanting to test that out, I realized that if I didn't hit the dogs, they'd stay stunned for a very long time. And since now it affected 2 at a time, I could take a fight with 3 enemies down to a fight with 1. That took this fight from a nose to grindstone gauntlet to a fairly standard fight with a beast enemy. I still made mistakes that had me worried, but it was trivial to survive by comparison, because I used the right tool for the right job. This set of boss fights actually has me rethinking how I feel about Souls games. This experimentation with the tools at your disposal is so much more interesting to me than grinding your head into a timing challenge until you get lucky. I tried to go at these fights like Dark Souls bosses and it just didn't work. Some of that was a skill issue, some of it was hitbox jank, but a heavy majority of it was needing to correctly prepare and execute a plan depending on the enemy or enemies that I was fighting. I've never played Monster Hunter, but I gotta say, this mod has me thinking about it. But what about the other side of an RPG? What about the story and economic systems? W3EE and Redux include an economy mod. And put simply, you're going to have less money, and choices about how you spend it are going to matter more. Different traders give different amounts for different goods, and you'll want to target specific merchants for your expensive trophies. I was rarely completely broke, but I was usually not rolling in it either. What I really like about the economic stuff is how it feeds into the story and character moments. Early in the game, a Nilfgaardian captain is seen showing mercy to a farmer he's demanding tribute from. He lightens the load on the farmer, and Geralt conducts his business. At the end of the quest, the farmer is shown giving the captain rotten grain, and the man is sentenced to be lashed. Geralt gets the info he needs, and the captain offers him a cash reward. The game gives you the opportunity to take the reward or turn down what some would call blood money. There's a lot of nuance to the situation. Obviously, the soldiers are a cruel invading force stealing tribute from the local population. On the other hand, this man was given mercy in that situation and betrayed it. It's up to the player what they think of the situation. But what's important with the mod in mind is that if the player thinks taking the money is immoral, the harsh economy the mod provides boosts the incentive to put their morals aside for the money, since that money is harder to come by. Games in general don't do a good job of rewarding making immoral character choices. Doing the right thing doesn't mean anything when the only reason to do the wrong thing is being a comically evil psycho. When you actually have to make a sacrifice, that makes you feel it more. On a similar note, in the quest where the cat and wolf play, a village is slaughtered and the only survivor is a little girl. I won't spoil the quest, but at the end of it, you can escort her to a nearby area where her aunt lives, and the aunt will tell you that she's likely to starve there. The quest then gives you the opportunity to give the woman 40 crowns, simply as charity to hopefully help the people. As of writing this section, I have no idea if this has any consequences, but I handed over the money despite that leaving me with 32 crowns afterward. I gave this woman half the money I had because the story compelled me to, and that left me with something very, very interesting to think about, and surprisingly deep feelings for what was a very straightforward quest. And as of editing this, I bumped into this girl again, and because of that experience, my reaction to seeing her was so joyful and wholesome. This is her? Oh my...
It's me, Millie!
Oh my god!
Of course I do.
Yes!
I have a gift for you. Because Mummy always said, if someone's nice, you gotta thank them.
Oh, I'm gonna cry! That's so nice! This mod gave me a much fonder view on The Witcher 3, and I look forward to progressing further with it. But I needed to share it with you because it's been a blast. This might become a dedicated video idea later, but I've noticed that modding in general seems to work best when you have a specific vision in mind. Regardless, I thank you all very much for watching. I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons and channel members. Both get early ad-free access to my videos as well as my Google Drive, so you can see the videos I make and don't make. Thank you to Cookie, Ryden, Sapast, Amanda Lick, Free Candy Van, Heinrich 6 Slaughter, Mariano Rebufo, M-Shark, Big Nuts 1562, Killycon, Yato God, Mythic Wombat, Bashal, Stiffy2432, Sark Malark, Submarine Guy, Hayden, Robert Lucas, Dazed Canadian, and Sea Trouble. If you don't like the way your name was formatted there, YouTube decided to give me your ats instead of your account names now. Feel free to contact me if you have any issues with the way I'm pronouncing it or anything like that.
Well, let's go inside. It's a bit chilly out.
Oh, right, and as always, subscribe to my fucking YouTube channel.